Let's do a damage evaluation here, shall we? Yes, I'm well aware. I've been complaining about the cold in there, my door is open. I have to do it because now I have a piece that is exactly 3 meters and 10 centimeters long. Let me cut down to 306. Still a lot longer than the spare place I have in my workshop. So for now the door is open just to provide an outfeed area.
I'm making wait, that's a bed, by the way. But you're not convinced? How about now? Is that better? Got a cat there and everything. I'm making a shelf that's going to sit on the head of the bed with a massive amount of overhang. Not to scale. It'll even be larger than that.
Alright, now through, I don't know, 3 or 4 passes, I've taken off more than I took off on the original piece. I'm quite happy with if we can do a quick comparison right there. Sorry about all the dust. Given that it's it's going to be 3.6 meters long, I think this thickness is quite adequate in regards to the width of it. It's going to look proper shelfy. I still got some work to do, but first of all I gotta make sure that door is closed because it's cold. Now, the customer stated they specifically wanted rounded off corners, which is totally understandable. So I'm gonna do that, but the very first thing I need to do is to cut it to perfect length. And finish it off. Right, rounding off the corners. I just want to, let's see here, I'll put a B on this side and an F on this side. There we go. If it just go like that. There we go, nice and rounded over. Now I'm just going to take a couple of passes along the top here, get it ready for coloring. It's going to look slightly weathered, so basically what I'm doing is taking down not a good bit, but taking off just a little bit of these crisp corners. Ever so slowly, but we are indeed getting there. There, clamp it down again. Just can't wait to get clamped down again. Right, now I'm going to do the front facing edge. I will be leaning heavily towards rounding it over to really go with the whole weathered look, breaking down the edges into more curves. Oh my god. I just went to turn off my camera from recording and I just started recording. So I've done all this, which is, I've used stain on it, wipe on, wipe off, all that stuff. I've also put a decent coat on this. I don't know why it doesn't take as well. It's probably because it's not sanded just as well. Anyway, coat on this as well. Setting this here to dry in front of the oven. Just so I can tell if I need a second coat on this by putting it on the test piece. I'm going to let this dry off now because I think it's just above freezing. And my oven is starting to be very, very thirsty. Yeah, it's quite literally on its last fumes. So I need more fuel for that anyway. I'm going to take this inside, I'm going to let everything dry off. See you in a jiff for finishing it up. Welcome back. It's now been a day, something, since I colored stained the shelf. I reached out to the customer reached out to me. They'd made new measurements. Turns out the width has to be 13.5 instead of the original 10 to 12. And I said, sure, that's no problem. I still have the cutoff from, I'm going to cut this down. We're currently sitting at 12, so it's 1.5 centimeters. This is our cutoff. This needs to be 1.5. Ideally it needs to be 2 centimeters because I have to cut off just a tiny bit of the back of this. And it measures 1.5. So these two plopped together are, well, just a hair shy of 13.5. Which means there it is, cut down, and it's really weird to see how shallow the stain really is. I think you can make it out. It's relatively dark, and then there is no penetration at all. Right, so our next step now is to ensure that what I end up cutting now will be 2.5 centimeters thick. Back with my glue. I think, in reality, hope this should suffice. I'm gonna let that sit here to dry now for around about an hour before I put on the last piece. Then we can start scraping off the glue residue. I've wiped it down on one side. I'm gonna leave this as is and I'm gonna scrape it off. This will be a test to see which is better, which leaves more of the color intact. I took them off again. They weren't big enough. Turns out it wasn't 13.5, it was 16.5. That was the target. So, not wanting to lap on another layer on top there, I am at the moment at a slight loss for words. That's going to be a solid 5.5 centimeters to make up for.
The boards I'm using here were already a shelf, but they broke, as you saw in the intro. So I'm using the leftover material, which is still perfectly good, as the material that I'm going to splice into the shelf to make up for the width.
Alright, minor inconsistencies in the cutting done by post me, which is always a dick to future me. And for some reason, current me, end up being the one that bears the brunt of it. Right, we're gonna glue it up now. Hopefully, for the third and final time. I've got plenty of overhang on both sides, which is good. I do like a nice overhang. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to scrape off the glue spill out. Then I'm going to alternate between planing and sanding to get everything as flush as can be. this old thing out so that I have a line to follow. Hi, it's cold. So cold. Just got done at work. Got the fire. The oven just started. But then I remembered I'm ready for planing. And to plane, I need to have the door open for room. Ah, cold, so very cold. Why is metal cold? And one, and a two, and a one, two. Ow! And a one, and a two, and a one, two. That's a bad idea. I'm going to fly out the door. I've planed down as far as I deem it necessary to have gone on either side now. There are a few low spots on this side, and practically no low spots left on this side, which means it's round about as level as I will be able to get it. Anyway, by the way, this thing is really working out, by the way. And as I say that, it will lock up for the first time ever. There we go. Let's get rid of you. And a one, and a two, and a one. I hope people are finished with their Taco Fridays, because I'm gonna be sanding. Everything feels super okay. And I know super okay doesn't necessarily inspire confidence. Is it the mark of a good PPE mask that it feels like I can barely breathe? Because if so, it's saving my life by slowly choking me out. That is now the entire length of the board, covered on all 6 sides, because it's a cube technically. I'm gonna let this sit. The underside took the stain a whole lot better than this side, and I put it on quite wet. So I'll be letting it sit for just a while until I wipe it off. Brand new cloth here. So this actually looks a lot better than the other side, which is fine. We wanted a top and a bottom anyway. And now we have just that. That is the meeting point between 2 pieces, for those that need it, of wood. Now we want to make that disappear as well as we can. So my plan involves this and some hardener, and the tools in choice being very, very finely ground sawdust, which also has been colored so it looks like dirt. Don't worry, it's the same color as this. It will look flat, but at least the crack will be gone. Clean it out a little bit here. This is the viscous one. I wish I knew that. Because that allows us to turn this into a paste. And then we're just going to leave that to set up for a good while before I come back, scrape off the excess, and flush over it. Right, I got one more at the very far corner there. For this one we're going to do basically the same thing. The only difference is now that I know the glue is viscous, instead of freely running, I'm going to my best ability work that into the hole. And give it a helping of colored sawdust. And I'll be using my interior lacquer of choice. It's an oil-based lacquer that's really hard-lived. It's sold basically for floors, like you lacquer your floors with them. Nobody really does that anymore. Of course, everybody's on the vinyl. No, not the vinyl. The fake wood, the whatever. Basically fireproof stuff. I think, judging by how it looks right now, I think we need one more coat of on this side, two on the other side, sand it down, and then one final layer of coating. Blend in the high points from the imperfections. You should see one on camera right now. Not this one, that one. Jeez. Get those trimmed down, covered with a layer, and we should be good to go. Yeah, so it's the evening of the next day. I've been in a rush all day to finish this, and thus I've literally been finishing it all day. So much so that I, at any one time, forgot I don't have a memory card for my camera. And every time I went inside, entirely out of my mind. So where we're at right now is both the sides and the front have been lacquered 3 times, sanded once, 400 grit. I've gotten a lot of the high points from the from like this, flushed out. It's barely visible, and been given one coat of thinned lacquer as a finisher. I've currently just done the back top end here. The shininess will die down once it's cured. At this point now, I'm quite convinced that we are entirely there. So I'm just going to let this cure up for a couple of hours more now. I'm going to put the heater on full blast. Please don't tell my power company or whoever pays the bills.